So you think peanut butter and your pants are the same color?
I didn't say that. I don't know what color my pants are. But what I was saying is that if you Google what color is peanut butter, it will pop up with a bunch of results that say colorblind person finds out peanut butter is not green. So I found this out when I was like 21, and
You found out that peanut butter is not green when you're 21?
Yes. And I did not believe them, so I Googled it, and every post on there is like colorblind person finds out peanut butter's not green. I lost my mind.
So is there a way for you to see what peanut butter really looks like?
What color is it?
It's like a
Purple.
lighter
It's
brown.
purple.
It's not purple, okay? I'm colorblind.
You didn't know it's purple?
Okay, it's blue.
Welcome back to God, Gains, and Grit. We're glad you joined us. Today we're talking about sports and kids, what that looks like biblically, how we each approach that. I know all of us have, well, I think everyone's here has played sports, right? Everybody's played sports. So why don't we start with a little bit of history of sports, Paul?
Yeah, I'd love to. I struck out at T-ball, and that's how I knew.
One
That's how I
strikeout
knew.
did it?
Well, so you strike out at T-ball when you get three chances.
You
So it was
missed
coach's
the-
pitch. So they give you three,
Okay.
and then you get 2 tries at the tee. And I struck out. So it was coach's pitch, but I did strike out on the tee, and that's how I knew, and that's why my parents said maybe you should do something not with your hands.
Let's switch to feet.
So I played soccer since I was 4, and then played through high school, and then eventually played at a D2 college, and we were just inducted into the Hall of Fame there this March.
You were?
Yeah. Well, no, the team.
Hall of Famer.
So not me. My name is on the plaque, but the team was
Nice.
inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Did you win like the ship or something?
No, I believe we were the first team to win the GNAC conference for our college. But it was a great time, a lot of fun. There's a lot of negatives to it. There's a lot more positives in my mind.
Did you do any other sports other than soccer?
Yes, I mean I played intramural basketball, just for fun. We would have like every spring there would be like a basketball tournament for college that you could sign up and play.
Can you still dunk?
No,
Could you ever dunk?
I'm about 30 pounds heavier than I was in college, so and a lot less stronger, but that's okay.
I played football, baseball, and basketball, and soccer when I was younger, but then I matured.
You grew up.
I'm just joking. Soccer was super fun. I wish I would have kept playing it. But I played those 3 in high school, and then I played baseball. Played air quotes. I'll just say that. I was not that good. I was good enough to be on the team, but yeah, baseball in college. But it was really fun. It was a good experience for sure.
So you two are college athletes.
D3 or NAIA?
D3.
No, D3.
For the love of the game, as they say.
You told me about going from high school and baseball to college and the position switch.
Oh yeah, I switched positions in college. Yeah, so I played like middle infield and pitcher. I was like at a small high school, so yeah, I played both those.
Big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, not big fish. And then when I got to college, they had like 12 middle infielders, and I didn't want to pitch because I knew I wasn't good enough to pitch in college. And so they're like, "Do you want to play catcher?" And so I learned like an entirely new position in college.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, but it was really challenging too. So
Catcher's brutal.
yeah, I actually liked it a lot just because you're involved in every single play. I mean,
Really helps with the ADHD.
yeah. But
I did a little bit of catching in T-ball as well.
How do you catch a
Oh, I
T-ball?
love that.
They
I
have
love
a
that
catcher?
segue.
No, but in little league though, I was either out in the outfield chewing on my glove, or I was catcher.
They wanted to keep an eye on you. They're like, here, Cam, I know it's T-ball, but you're the catcher now.
Yeah, but I had
Very
to.
important.
I had to bunt on almost everything because I could not hit. When I did connect, it was good, but like I would strike out almost every time, so I had the bunt down. But yeah, and then high school was football mostly, track and field. Did a little bit of wrestling before that, but I just didn't like the all day Saturday meets. And for me, it was just like I was nervous the entire day. So just like your stomach is in a bind. And then you got to go practically be naked out in front of everyone. The singlets, I did not enjoy the singlets either.
I think the singlets single-handedly deterred many people
Yeah.
from doing wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than what they used to do.
Which was?
Naked.
Naked with oil.
Oh, yeah. No, I probably wouldn't have done that.
Well, if you wouldn't do the singlet, then yeah, it's safe to say you wouldn't go
Yeah.
further.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did all. I mean, I can't think of a sport that I didn't play, like from childhood.
Squash.
I played squash even. But I was so small that like when I was in 5th grade, I played football, but I belonged on like the 3rd grade football team. So especially like football, I tried it when I was in like 5th grade and then in 8th grade. And I tell people now, like I would be an excellent 8th grade football player, like right now. Like, but when I was in 8th grade, I was like 4'9" or 4'10", and you know I'm playing against like Clackamas and different teams that are just like grown men, or at least it felt like that, and
Yeah.
it was just like, this isn't fun. This is not fun. But baseball, track and field, cross country, I wrestled like for 5 years in high school with a singlet, which that was fun. I loved wrestling. I also like was way under like the bar for weight because you have your weight classes, you have to make weight. So I'm like eating Subway sandwiches on the way to meets while like there's still some of my teammates are like wrapped in plastic and trying to cut weight, and I'm just like, nom, 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 nom. This is delicious because I'm like 95 pounds and my weight class was like 103. So I'm like, I'm good.
Like, I can't even get to 103. I'm trying.
Exactly, I'm trying. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I didn't play a bunch of different sports. It was just baseball. My parents always kind of prioritized baseball. I had 2 older brothers, so I was like the third in line of a baseball family. And so they wouldn't let me play football in high school because I might get hurt for baseball. And then every other sport just never took for me. So a couple of varsity years in baseball, but no college, unfortunately. I played when I was 19, but it wasn't in college. It was like a traveling team. I loved it. But I will say there were some drawbacks, I think, looking back on the emphasis that was placed on it. I thought sports were a lot bigger deal than they actually were. So like today, I married a wife that's not into sports at all. And it's like it's been so devalued in my head that it's like everything was sports. You know, like coming from Texas, we were watching Friday night football and Sunday and Saturday football and Sunday football and then playing sports as well. So yeah, it's been a little different.
What position did you play in baseball?
Catcher.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow. We got a lot of catchers here.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
did
cool.
have a pro
T-ball.
level pop time, but my bat was what kept me out of college. So
A pro level pop time.
pop time is when the ball hits your glove to the time it hits the second baseman's glove.
Oh.
So when someone's stealing, that's what they measure catchers on. I mean, primarily when they're.
Pudge Rodriguez was like 1.61 seconds. My fastest I ever was timed was 1.79. But consistently a 2 pop time, right around 2 flat, is a college level pop time. So but I was the same way as you. I was like really small, undersized, so quickness was not the problem. Arm strength wasn't the problem. But a lot of times catchers need to hit really well, specifically for power. They're usually chunkier guys, and I was not. That's high school.
Nice. Yeah, I had a pro level 2 foot. So
What's a 2 foot?
glad you asked. That's when you 2 foot somebody.
Oh, to trip them?
No, it's like
like a Spartan
that's a red. It's a red card if
Oh,
you come
okay.
in with both cleats.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a joke because nobody here played soccer, and I don't know what a pop time is.
I had a pro level 2 foot.
No, I played with a kid who had a pro level 2 foot. It was nasty, and he'd always get away with it because he'd come in with 1 foot, and then he'd real quick come in with the back foot and just dominate. Like it's like scissor.
Speaking of like hurting other people, did anyone play hockey here? No? You
We're
mentioned-
American, so
Hockey's a pretty cool sport. I
What
will
would you say hockey is?
Canadian
Canadian.
for sure,
Cold.
and like Russian.
Canadian, yeah.
cold. It's a cold sport.
Yeah, but who all watched the Mighty Ducks?
Oh, everybody.
Well, we watch hockey. Hockey's a cool sport.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Hockey's a really cool sport. Actually,
Pretty rare. I don't know very many people who played hockey.
one of my buddies, like really good friends, played. But it's a cool sport. I like that they allow them to actually fight, which maybe we can get into like whether or not that's something we should do.
I love that. I think every sport should have like a fight break right in the
fight
middle.
break.
Even
Like
golf.
Well, okay.
baseball.
Yes, golf.
In baseball, you should
Punching
just
yourself.
if you charge the mound, you just get 30 seconds to figure it out.
And they used to sort of allow that. But one of my biggest gripes with like the NBA and not really the NFL because they don't even try, but basically it's just the NBA, is how often they like act like they're going to fight
Baseball's
and they
notorious for
act
that.
tough and then nothing happens. It's like everyone knows they're not going to fight. It's so rare if they actually fight. Stop like getting in each other's faces basically. It's really aggravating.
So, are you gonna encourage your kids to play sports as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I really enjoy sports. I enjoy watching my kids play sports. I think there's so many positives that you can get from playing a team sport as well as even an individual sport like golf or track. And I'm going to say track is an individual sport. And I know some people don't agree with that. And I do think that there are some events that are more team centric. But I think team sports are extremely beneficial in developing multiple different things as a child, just understanding teamwork, understanding that your actions affect everybody around you and that you have a job to do and that if you don't do your job, then you could lose. And it's a really important aspect of life that you only have to go through it for an hour and a half. If you're playing soccer, however long your sport game is.
Sport game.
Sport ball.
If you're out there playing,
Well,
sport
how do you feel about wrestling then? Because that's pretty individual, right? I didn't wrestle, Cameron.
It's
I mean, you're on a team, right? So like, there's team points and everything, but it's very individual. But that's one of those sports where I'm like, I really would like my kids to get involved in wrestling. I think it's a great sport. That's like a lot. I've rarely met a wrestler that's number one, like not a hard worker, and humble. So those two things. Besides TJ, I didn't know he's a wrestler until today. So
kind of
no,
throws off
but
your
okay.
stat there. But
Yeah, how do you feel about wrestling? Because we were talking about, like, you mentioned the team aspect, like, really clearly. I think wrestling's pretty individual.
It might be individual, but you can still get many of the same positive things of discipline. Well, I'm not a wrestler, so I feel like someone who did wrestle could probably
I
speak
mean,
much
you
better.
come together as a team during practices and whatnot, and you're all holding each other accountable for making weight and whatnot. In the mat, it comes down to you, but outside of that, it's a team effort. Everybody keeping each other up and whatnot.
And that's interesting because even as a team sport, when I went home, I would still do 15 to 20 minutes of soccer practice. I would get touches on the ball. I would be doing some type of a workout that would be more soccer centric. So I had an individual portion to it that I needed to continue to maintain my ability to play soccer and then bring that to the practice. So my touches on the ball, I got a lot more at home than I did at practice. Practice was more so as a team. What are your movements? How do you play off of one another? Because soccer, you don't touch the ball 100% of the game. Especially as a defender, you're going to be part of the attack, but it really is not, you're not always touching the ball. So if you want to get touches, you want to get better at the game, you're going to have to do that at home. And I think that leads to a lot of things in life that if you want to get better, you can't just go to practice. You have to do additional things.
I think that's one of those important lessons that we can teach kids through sports too, is that your individual contribution, like on your own time, not just at practice, will affect the entire team too. So if you're lacking in your work ethic and you're not, you don't know the plays, like, because I know football better than soccer. I don't think soccer has plays. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Do they have plays?
Of course they have plays.
Okay, so see, there you go.
No, they don't.
But like,
You don't have plays?
Well, I guess
it's
that's
not like
not
in
as
football where you go up to the line and you call a play and you run a play. It's like, you go ahead.
No, I would agree with 99% of that. The only time that you might have a play is on a corner kick or some type of.
I was like, so when he kicks from the corner, the guy just happens to be in the middle.
No,
That's not
no. So you have certain people who know exactly where they're running, whether it's near post, far post, or center, and so you want to get into a dangerous position. So you do practice corner kicks, so you get accustomed to the swing of the ball as it comes in, and so I would always go near post because I was the tallest, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's where the ball's coming every time, and it's not like you're running a play and you say blue 42 and you know exactly what you're running.
Sure.
It's kind of like an inbound, maybe like when you're throwing the ball inbounds from basketball, right? It's like you do have, I don't know, you kind of have set plays where like so and so is going to run around the backside, and pull a defender over here so that it opens up this spot, right? Okay. Yeah. Where was I going with that? Oh, so on your own time with a team sport, right? So like football, because there is plays in football. If you're not up to date on how to run the plays and you don't know what you're doing and you show up to a game, you're letting your team down because of your lack of contribution on the individual side. That would be like one of those lessons that I feel like comes from a team sport that maybe you don't necessarily get from wrestling. But yeah.
Yeah, in football, sorry, you have all your plays, and you're not going to learn those in practice if you're not studying at home as well. So, yeah, to further your point.
Yeah, wrestling's an interesting one because it is your individual performance affects the team. So even though it's not like at the end of the meet, you're sitting there talking about, this was the team's fault or, whatever the case, your individual performance and the effort that you're putting in week and week out directly contributes to the team's success. And you also, based on weight classes and things like that, you're training with the same people every day. It's not like any other sport where, I wouldn't be training with somebody who is in the heavyweight division. So you kind of grow accustomed to like the training partner that you're constantly with. And especially if they're better than you or vice versa, their effort affects your performance as well. So I think that wrestling, it is more of a self-disciplined sport, but it still has a major team effect behind it. And it is, I think it's a great sport for kids to get into. It's hard. It hurts sometimes. You can get wrecked. You can, there's a lot of life lessons that can be applied in wrestling. Fear, like, overcoming your fear. Because when you're with a team, when you're doing a team sport, you can be afraid, but you have this sense of camaraderie and team, like the team vibe. But when you are wrestling and it's like, okay, I've warmed up with the team, done all this stuff, but then I'm standing 6 feet away from the person that I'm about to wrestle, it's all just you and that person. And so there is like a overcoming your fears and, like kind of the immediate feedback of where you're at in your journey with that sport, which is pretty interesting. And that's another reason why I like jiu-jitsu. Is it's like I haven't even done like an actual tournament, signed up for a tournament. You have, obviously. But there are days when I'm in the gym and I'm like, I'm going to roll with this person. I really don't want to because I know they're going to wreck me. But it is like, it's a test of will. And it's like, how are you going to, you're only going to get better if you learn and you lose and you take away things and then you have something that you're chasing whether that's in an individual sport, you're chasing somebody down to try and beat them. Like even pole vault. It's like I did pole vault in high school, and that's pretty individual. You're jumping over a stick.
It's similar to wrestling though, right? Where like your points contribute to the team's
Yes,
success.
but there is that element of, man, this person's got me. They continually jump higher than me, but you can still chase that. It's not like it's a contact sport or it's like you immediately know whether you win or lose, but like when you're facing the same person or you're trying to jump higher, there's always somebody that's going to be better than you in some cases. I mean, maybe unless you're the best at what you do. But
if you guys could choose a sport for your kids to be involved in, like one sport, what would that be? It's kind of on the spot, but I'm just curious. Anyone can answer first.
And the sport that they choose.
Yeah, so that's where I'm going with it next. That's why I asked the question. I would say like wrestling or jiu-jitsu.
Are you gonna let us answer? Or you gave him an answer. That was.
I gave him the answer he was looking for.
I gave
and
you
so he
guys.
said,
You're like,
No, I gave you
Ah.
guys ample time.
give us a
You
half
guys
a
all
second.
looked up to the sky like this.
Because we were thinking.
Didn't know what
You
to
asked
say.
a question?
I'm thinking.
Trying to be thoughtful.
The answers are written on the wall. Don't give that. Give
Daniel,
that away.
Go ahead.
Instantaneously, I think jujitsu, because it is a self-defense and it offers a lot of lessons. I think it's less team-oriented, which I would tend to want more team-oriented stuff because of the teamwork aspect and stuff like that. But I think I'll stick with jujitsu if I have to pick one because I think both girl and boy, I have a son and a daughter. I think both I would like to see train because of all the downstream benefits. Like there is the self-defense aspect, but also the discipline, the injury. You're going against somebody else, and there's no one to blame but yourself. So what you were saying is you in wrestling you go in and the other guy can be better than you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have belts or you don't have any way of knowing. It's just weight class, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can go against a black belt in wrestling in high school as a white belt. You're basically just outmatched in every way. In jiu-jitsu, you're placed somewhat in a belt class. You kind of know you're on the same skill level. So if you lose, it's just preparation. It's like that person hasn't been training that much longer than you. That person doesn't outweigh you, same age. You've been narrowed down to basically people that are around your skill level. So if you lose, it's just they prepared more than you did. And that has to make you look in the mirror and be like, oh man, that's on me. So I like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's tough. I think team sports are great because there is an element of teamwork and how your behavior, your attitude, your work ethic, and your preparation directly affect the people around you in the moment. But there's no substitute for like jiu-jitsu or wrestling because it is such a self-discipline that, I mean, how often would you want to not prepare, not practice, not get better at something, and then continually go
Get
out
beat.
and lose? Like you either would quit or it's like you're going to be motivated to get better. Like I remember whether it was with my dad or when going to like an additional club, but wrestling was like, it wasn't just the thing I did after school or after school in high school, like one time a day. There was like multiple nights where I was going to practice at school and then going out to like a wrestling club and continuing that practice. Because like you said, it's like how many times can you get extra touches on the ball because you might not get them in the game. But when you do, you're prepared because you've practiced even more than the time required for the team. And so I think a team sport, I mean, it's interesting. We can get into this too, but it's interesting because it seems like soccer is like for young kids, it seems like it's the easiest like plug and play sport. And I don't know if that's just coincidence.
It's just the easiest sport to play.
Wow.
I'm just joking with you.
But it is a very like easy to, I guess, for at a very young age, even 3 years old. It's like see ball, kick ball in net.
It's a very simple game.
It is.
It is take the round thing and put the round thing in the rectangle. That's it.
You do realize when you're playing with 3-year-olds, though, how not simple it can be. It's like, no, don't go that way. Okay, no, don't grab the ball with your hands. And there's so many different things. It's like, I didn't even think you'd do that.
Yeah, I like having a mixture of both, and I think there is like it's totally. All of our kids are different. Personalities are different. They're going to gravitate towards different things. They're going to find things more interesting than what one of my other children might be the most passionate about. And so I think that is the beauty of sports is there is so many different sports that it's just like what kind of personality do they have? What do they like to do? And so who knows? Who knows what my kids will do?
So why did you ask?
Yeah, would you require sports of your kids? Because, so, Paul. No, it seems like you're going to have a great answer, so I'm really excited for this. But I just think, okay, if your kid's interested in choir or theater and like acting, right, it's not a sport. I don't know. Like, yeah, it comes back to like, are you going to require sports of your kids, some sort of competition? Because I think that's what sets sports apart is that level of competition, teamwork, and then learning those different traits. I think you can learn those traits other ways, but yeah.
Are you? I would say that almost everything has an aspect of competition, whether it's theater or it's a sport that we would recognize as a sport, or even if you're playing piano and you are then going to go and have a recital. There's some aspect of competition. There's some aspect of responsibility that's within there, especially, you had mentioned theater. I just mentioned theater. My daughter does theater. She has to go audition. Like there is an aspect of I have to learn a dance in 4 weeks. I have to sing a song. And so there's preparation time. There's preparation on how are you going to say your lines. And then if you get a callback, you learn the dance that morning and you have to do the dance an hour after. So there is a lot of competition in that and you may not go any further. And that might not be because you're good. It could be because somebody doesn't like you, actually, sometimes. And so, and that happens in sports too. You have coaches that may or may not like you. But I think I would not, to answer your question, I would not relegate it to you have to do sports. I would relegate it to we ask our kids to choose 2 extracurriculars a year.
I'm going to phrase this more as a question than like a statement because I wouldn't die on this battlefield. But like with, say choir or theater or something like that, I think that the missing aspect in something like that versus like a more traditional sport would just be the physicality. And so how are you, because I think physicality is important for kids too. And with competition, but like you're saying, there's also competition and those other things. But I would just think that that's kind of the missing link. So if you're able to encourage physicality in other ways, I have absolutely no problem. If my kids like theater, choir, those are all good with me. So I'm on.
It's kind of interesting for me because like our oldest, she's very slow in her physical growth, but she's pretty far ahead in her mental. So like we do things like we do piano with her and horse riding lessons. But the big conversation in our house right now is like, do we put her in soccer? We did 1 year and we skipped the next year. And then this year it's the discussion right now because she wants to, because obviously the last year she felt like she was missing out, but she's so much smaller than all the other kids out there. It's like when they're running back and forth on the field, she can't keep up, And so it's like, do we push her in that knowing that there's going to be a lot of failure? For me, it's like, okay, if we're going to, then I have to be spending a lot of time outside of that trying to give her extra practice to get up to that. So it's interesting. I want her to succeed, but I also know going into it, there's probably going to be a lot of hurt. I don't know if she's going to score at all this year. So, but I guess emphasize the other parts of the sport, which is the discipline, the camaraderie, the team aspect. But
Yeah, I think that's been tough for me because I overemphasize sports. My family very much overemphasize sports, so it feels like sports is just what you do. But I, like I said, married a wife who was not into sports at all, and therefore my oldest son, my only son, is just not into sports. So we've put him in baseball, and he was bored stiff. We put him in soccer, and he tried tackling other kids, like kept tackling.
So then you went football, right?
And it was co-ed because they were like little kids, and so he was like tackling girls, and they're running off the field crying, and did not go well. So we put him in football, but it's flag football, and he was a little confused and bored. And then basketball was probably his favorite, but like you said, he went the whole year without scoring because he didn't understand the game well enough. So he would get the basketball and run like a football, just tuck it and run. And so then they're taking it away, and he's confused as to why no one will pass him the ball. And then when he does get a shot, it's rough. So I've really had to learn how to detach myself from, like you've talked about, living vicariously through your kids. It's like going back to what you said about whatever sport they choose. If they don't choose a sport, I don't know if I'll make him try sports, but I won't make him continue sports if sports just aren't his thing. He's an artist, so he'll sit for hours in his room making elaborate drawings that were way better than I can do, but I can't get him to play basketball with me.
Yeah.
I would definitely encourage you guys to put her in again, especially if she, like I also, with our kids, we have taken like gap years where like they get halfway through the season, they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Number one, I want to hear if you guys would ever let your kids quit like mid-season. I think that's
Absolutely
okay.
not.
yeah, that's
okay.
it's once we start.
Yeah, you got to
You're
finish.
committed. Yeah.
Which is another thing about jiu-jitsu. There's no seasons, which I think is really cool. Yeah, it's just a straight up discipline. But the fact that she feels like she missed out and she wants to do it again, I think that's a huge sign. That should be a huge encouraging sign because that might be your guys' projection about her. Like, she's so small, she's not going to score. Like, that could be you.
Yeah. Well,
being,
some of it. Yeah.
I'm just, because I feel the same way too. But the fact that she missed a year and is excited to do it again,
Yeah.
that's where it's like, oh man, put her in again. Even if at the end of the year she's like, feeling discouraged or down, it's like, take advantage of that opportunity because there might be a time in which she's just like done with it. And, the interesting thing is it could be like, I think she's actually really good. I think you could actually be really good at this thing. She's like, no, I'm done. And you're like, ah. So I think that, like, I would just encourage you to have her do it.
Well, and we want that physical aspect anyways. Like, outside of that, there's a little bit of running around at the playground and whatnot, but there's no structured exercise time. So, yeah, we want to develop that too. So
I think there's one other aspect too that's kind of missing in all that. And if you were to have her not play, I think it's almost like tacitly admitting that like failure is bad or something. And I would argue like this is, I feel like, a lesson I learned later than I should have, but failure is a good thing, and we learn more through failure than we do through success. So like I had a lot of shortcomings, and I was really small too. You mentioned you were small in high school. I mean, I was like 120 pounds freshman year, like playing football. I loved football, but like that's tiny. Like my helmet was like falling all over the place. But
what was your helmet?
I'm not doing that again. But yeah, anyways, the failure thing. I just think I've learned later in life that failure is like one of the best things that can happen to you. And like maintaining humility through failure and keeping your head up. And there's just so many good aspects with failing that's another encouragement to keep her in it. Because I can understand from a parent's perspective too, because I feel exactly what you're talking about. Like it's hard to like put your kid into something where you know they're going to fall or fail or get hurt. But I think that there's a lot of benefits. So
Do you guys see pride in your kids when they're playing sports or when they do something that they're successful at all? Like when they do well, and they're like,
yeah, my 3-year-old always says, "I'm the fastest there is," and stuff like that.
and then you race them, you're like, oh.
Yeah, I make sure to keep them
Humble.
subverted.
And then your pride goes up, and you're like, dang it.
My kid's never been successful on the sports field, so no pride there.
Yeah, so my daughter did jujitsu. She's done theater. She did soccer. She's pretty athletic. My wife's athletic, and I like to think I'm athletic to some point. And so our kids are fairly athletic, and we have to try and bring the pride down as much as possible. And losing is one of the best ways to do that. And I wasn't going to lead off with this one, but I think it's a good one. So Psalms 37:11.
Sword drill.
Got it.
Boom.
So this is David talking about how God will not forsake those who trust in him. And 37:11 is, "But the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant peace." And this verse, I used to not like because I don't like the word meek. I don't like when it's like, the meek shall inherit the earth. And you're like, they're a bunch of wimpy people, a bunch of meek people. But the biblical meekness is not wimpy or to be like to shy away, right? So this is David, who, for lack of a better just understanding, is that he is king over quite a large piece of land, and he would probably consider himself meek. Like, he's a warrior, he's a psalmist, he's got a lot of really positive things. So the idea of being meek is not necessarily a negative thing, but what it really points to is humble. It's having a humbleness in strength, right? And you can't be, I mean, you could be prideful in something you're bad at, but typically, I mean,
Ignorant arrogance.
yeah, you've seen American Idol.
Oh,
Some people don't know, and so I think what's important is to, as our kids play, is understand there's all these great aspects, but there's better aspects that you as a parent can start to have those conversations with your kids on when they lose or when they win, and what does it look like to be meek, and what does it look like to be a Christian who plays soccer, a Christian who does jiu-jitsu, who plays baseball, right? What does that look like? How can we be a light on the field to those who don't know, who might be cussing up a storm at 8 years old and mad that they lost? And it's like, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be frustrated that you lost. Understand that decisions lead to either a win or a loss, and what decisions led to that loss or what decisions led to that win, and to have that retrospect. But my biggest thing about sports is it offers us as parents the opportunity, and especially as fathers, to come alongside our kids in a somewhat scripted environment, a pretty enclosed environment, and they can lose, they can win. We can see who they really are when we're not 10 feet away from them, being a helicopter parent. We can step away, see who they are in the field, and have opportunities to talk about certain things, to try and point out certain things that they did positive and negative in a good way, in a God-fearing way, and not necessarily a bad way of just bashing your kid.
Yeah, it was, we went to the rodeo this last weekend, and it was really cool because we got to spectate the best, at least on the circuit, whatever circuit this was, the best of the best. Like, some of them were literally the number ones in the world at, roping the calf and tying them up and stuff like that. And we were explaining it on the fly to our two oldest, and they were like, what does this mean? Why are they doing that? Whatever. But the cool thing was, and it was like, it felt like it was a moment that the Lord gave us an opportunity to point something out to our children, not in the heat of the moment when they're playing the sport, and they get down or discouraged or frustrated, and you might be a little frustrated yourself, and so it kind of could turn into like a more combative thing. But for example, like the cowboys that rope the calf and then they have to jump off and tie their hooves. 4 seconds was like the best
Whoa.
time, which is insane. It's like, holy smokes. But then you have like the guy announcing #1 in the world, he's not going to fall under 6 seconds or whatever. And he misses, or
He
goes
falls
long,
off completely.
goes long. But the cool thing and the point that was awesome to make to the kids is like they still finished tying the hooves, and it's like 12 seconds or 13 seconds. And I like saw it as an opportunity to be like, look, they're the best at what they do. They didn't get their time. They didn't even get close to the record of the night. And yet they didn't, once they saw that, they weren't looking at the clock. And once they saw that they weren't going to win, they didn't let go of the calf and let it run away. They finished tying it. And they're suffering. They're disappointed. They're upset. But they displayed grit, which I thought was like a super awesome thing to point out to the kids. And I'm like reminded of Romans 5, of course, where, it's like rejoice in our sufferings, because in our suffering, we produce endurance, character, hope, and, the hope that won't put us to shame is ultimately the hope that we have in Christ. And I think that there is going to be suffering, heartache, turmoil, frustration in sports with our kids, especially as they get older. Like right now, there's like this, fluffy, fun, yeah, go do it, do this sport, do that sport. We as parents and the genes that we all carry, we have the foresight to be like, they're not going pro.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry, bud.
but it's like, so at this level, it's like a fun thing. Yeah, let's sign you up, go for it, do it. But like eventually, from our children, some are going to become more and more passionate about what they want to do. And this was like my biggest question, because as our kids get more passionate and they get older and they take a liking to a certain sport, it's like, especially if it's a sport that I did, like baseball or wrestling or something that I actually have like a history and a background and like not a comprehension, but just like an understanding, a deeper meaning of the game, baseball, for example. My childhood was a lot of, you're way better than I was when I was your age. So I'm trying to help you realize how good you are, which was kind of just more of a facade of, reliving the glory days through our children. And for me, like I guess that's ultimately one of the things that I am convicted of already is like, if any of my kids, specifically my boys, get into sports that I love and that I spent a lot of my childhood playing, it's like, where's the fine line between living vicariously through them, in which case their failure is ultimately bringing you shame, right? Because you're like, you're better than that. I know you are. I've seen how good you are. So it's like what that can produce versus, Dad, I love this sport. I really love it. I want to get better at it. I want to, get better at this thing. Where's the line between the living vicariously through versus encouraging them and pushing them to work hard because it's ultimately something that they're passionate about? I think that's like at least the question that I posed to myself in preparing for this. And at least for me, I'm reminded of
Colossians 3:23.
no, it's before that. It's Colossians 3:21, which
Like,
is
same chapter.
Curveball, baby.
which is, parents, don't provoke your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. And that is, at least for me, it's okay, you're in this fluffy, fun, loving, do whatever sport you want phase. and it's more just to like get them in, encourage them, motivate. I mean, you have kids that are already getting older. You know, your oldest is 10,
11.
She'll be 11.
11.
No, she is 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
You know.
I was,
she
when I
said
said
11.
yeah, when he said 11, and then you said no, I was like, oh, dang it. Like, I messed that up. That's funny.
But man,
Yeah,
like
11. She'll be 12.
I already see it in my oldest son. And he's in the backyard. He's kicking the soccer ball. I have a little net for him. When he's playing by himself out in the backyard, I'm like, bro, he's pretty talented. Like, he's naturally talented at sports. I'll throw him like baseball, wiffle ball, and he's got a great swing. So I am observing all these things. But as soon as he's playing with even like a team soccer game with our family, he can feel the defeat settling in, and he just loses it. And I immediately get frustrated because I'm like, dude, you're not even focusing on like your team. You're not even trying to help. And I'm like, man, it's an immediate check of like, how often do we, or could we in our children's careers in sports be the one that provokes them to anger? And I think that's for me, at least, like when I read these, there's 2 times in the epistles, in Ephesians and Colossians, when Paul says, don't provoke your children to anger. And I think that's a huge anchor for us when we're raising our children in sports, is like, above all, we shouldn't be provoking our children to anger, which could come pretty easily, especially if we're starting to get as passionate about them doing sports as they are, or more so. So, I mean, that's the big question that I wanted to pose to you guys, because a lot of my childhood was I was trying to measure up to something instead of doing it for my own passion, my own desire, and, you know, for that it was fun for me.
She's 11.
You did. Okay.
No, she's 10, and she's going to be 11.
Okay,
That's
so I
what I'm
was
saying.
wrong.
Yeah.
I actually grew up with almost I won't say the opposite, but like I was encouraged to do like whatever I wanted basically with sports, and I really loved all sports. So it wasn't like this thing where I was only encouraged to do the sport that I was good at. It was like, oh, whatever you want to do, which actually led to like sort of almost a different outcome that's interesting as well, which, you know, I was always touted for like, you have a good work ethic, like you work really hard. And when I look back, I'm like, no, I didn't. And I think that was a lot of the time I could have been encouraged a little bit more to work even harder, because there was talent there in like a lot of different sports that I really enjoyed doing. But that, I mean, everyone always says hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right? And so I always pretended like, oh yeah, I'm a hard worker. And then in reality, it's like, no, there wasn't a whole lot of discipline there. And that came later in life, which I'm really thankful for. And maybe I learned from those early years. But yeah, on the flip side of the coin you were bringing up, I think when they do find that thing that they're really passionate about, I do think we need to encourage them in that direction and not try to, you know, force your hand on something that like we think they should do. But then when they do find that thing that they're really passionate about, especially when they start to get older, we really should encourage and point out to them that like hard work will get you a long ways too, especially if they have any ounce of like natural athletic ability in something they're doing. That what's going to set them apart and actually take them further is that like discipline and hard work, and pointing out that the way that they get to that next level or whatever it is working harder than that other person that's just as talented as them or a little bit more talented. So
I think, yeah, that's where I come to with needing to pick your passion, but then holding their feet to the fire once they've chosen it, because there is such a balance between just being the rah parent, and then when they change their mind, you're just like, okay, let's quit. You know, let's go on, do something else. We'll try something else. No worries. I feel like there's both sides. I was probably raised more on the harsh side, so like quitting was not an option. We mocked quitters. You know, it was like there was one guy on my team that we played spring ball, summer ball, and then he decided to take fall ball off. And my parents, it was a conversation in our house of this one kid who he wasn't in it for real because he didn't
What a
do fall
loser.
ball, because you should play 10 months out of the year. Like that was kind of the point. And I loved it. So I was baffled as to why he would not play fall ball because, that's the final season. Like, I didn't understand it. But he had other interests. Like he had other sports that he did and school and all that. But like if I went 4 for 5 one game on the way home, we're talking about the one at bat that I didn't do, that didn't get the hit. And it's like there's a case for pushing your kids and like getting them to be their best, I think. But there's also a case of, realistically understanding perfection is not reachable. So and I mean, honestly, it's a balance. I think you want to drive the kids to be the best they can be while also praising them when they are objectively good at what they do or they've done well. And that's just a case by case thing. I don't think you could go in with one mindset all the time, because if you go in thinking I'm going to use sports to teach them about failure and all of these things, then it's like you're only using that one tool over and over and over again. So even when they do well, you're just like hammering away at them. Whereas if you're taking it case by case, when they fail, you're talking to them about working through failure. Failure is going to come your whole life. Failure is a good thing. This is how you get better. Da da da. But when they do well, you're not talking about the one failure. You're like, hey, you did really well. And maybe you go to humility and you're like, don't get high on your own supply. You did great. There's all these lessons that all of them, depending on which day it is, can be used through sports. That's why I love sports. I still think they're super valuable because they bring up the conversations you want to have with your kids. But like, I still feel that the overemphasis on perfection and, I was definitely sold that I was going pro. Like I was like, you are good enough to go pro. And so that's the way I approach sports. So it's life or death, it was like very, very important to do well. And I think that overemphasis of what was possible and the discipline portion was all there was. There was no celebration of wins. And so this day we're business partners. He knows I don't celebrate wins. Like we can have the best year of our company history. And I'm like already planning next year. Like it's done, So the celebration of wins is like a giant gap in my personality that I'm like, I wish I had more of that.
There's such a balance there. It's like the balance you see in the Bible with love and logic or truth, right? If you've got all love and no truth and you're not willing to give people truth, how loving really is that? And it's the same in reverse. And so with kids in sports, like being the hard pushing parent that's like always on them and like wants, I want them to succeed, but like constantly not a lot of positive reinforcement and all discipline. But then on the other side, if you have the parent that's just like, always encouraging, even, and you should be encouraging through failure, but always, I'm trying to get the right words here. You know what I'm talking about?
Little Johnny, you scored a goal. It was on your own team, but
the participation award type parents. But with that balance, I feel like there needs to be wisdom. And that's where in James 1:5, it says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God that gives to all men liberally and upbraideth not. I don't know the word there. That's in your guys's. That's a big King James word. But yeah, I think with this stuff, I think our first stop should be scripture and prayer to be able to lead these kids with that balance. Because if we go too hard in one direction, we're going to push them too far that way. I think either way, right? If you're too much of a participation award parent versus too much of a discipline parent, I think we need to seek scripture and seek the Lord and ask him for wisdom and discernment and guiding as we do this.
Did you guys see the Scotty Scheffler, Tom Brady thing a couple weeks ago? I don't know. It was a while back, but Scotty Scheffler was like, you guys follow golf at all? You do. So Scotty Scheffler is by far the number one golfer in the world right now. They're saying he's like the best since Tiger Woods. So he's just destroying everybody right now. And he's a super strong believer. And so he's like really calm, never gets upset on the golf course. Other guys are throwing their clubs and slamming their clubs and stuff. And he just seems to be more like leveled off. And everybody's like, the joke is that he just doesn't seem to care that much because of whatever. And when they talk to him in interviews, he's like, oh, well, I have a family and I have this life that's outside of golf. Golf is only a portion of my life. And he's like, what does golf matter if I'm not a good dad? What does golf matter if I'm not a good husband or a good man or whatever? And so it allows him to have this mindset that is just unflappable in golf. And golf is a huge mental game as it is, but his mental game is the strongest part of his game because he was literally arrested on accident. It was like a weird thing where he got arrested by this rogue cop before a tournament. Like at 5 a.m, he's taken down to jail, locked up, and he's the number one golfer in the world. They release him. He comes back out and he shoots like 3 under par. It's like nothing can stop this guy.
When he was polite through that whole thing too, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah. They released the body cam footage, and he was just like, "Oh, okay, let's go to jail." Like,
yeah, you could imagine a world in which like the number one golf player in the world is like, "Are you kidding me? I'm going
do you
to
know
play
who
golf."
I am? Like, he never once was like, "Do you know who I am?" Like, you're like, anyways. And but then he came out and said something like, "It doesn't matter if I'm not a good father. It doesn't matter what I do on the golf course." And Tom Brady came out in response and said, "Why are those things mutually exclusive? Why can't we be the best at what we do? Like give everything we can to our sport and also be a great dad," which is super ironic because Tom Brady is like, the self-awareness is not there because he's, on his second or third wife. And, he even admitted six months ago that his kids, like he regrets the relationship he has with his kids because they're all like teenagers and like close to being grown, and he can't get those years back when he was pursuing his dreams. And I think that's such a cautionary tale for us because whether it's living vicariously through our kids or if we were at the top of our sports, I think that's a great thing that we can teach them is with every level, you have to sacrifice something. And what is worth sacrificing for sports? Like those things, those are conversations that need to happen when we're teaching the kids sports, I think.
I think the answer to that Tom Brady's question is Matthew 6:27. It's like where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Absolutely.
You can't treasure football for 20 years as much as he did and also think you can also treasure your kids at the same amount. Like it's impossible. I mean,
So is that to say that you can't be like the best in the world at something but prioritize your kids over that thing?
Scotty
Well, that's
Scheffler
where
proves otherwise.
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler.
Okay.
It seemed, but I think it's the prioritization. Like clearly his family is his treasure.
Yeah.
The sport is, he literally seems like he treats it like a job. It's like, and we've talked about family versus business and home life versus work life. And it's like, he seems to be the person who is running to his family far more, prioritizing them far more than he is. And I think the natural talent that he has, and I think there's also a divine intervention that the Lord is using him in the sport to show that there is like the element of the gap that the Lord can stand in between what seems impossible, to be a solid Christian family man and being the best at a sport. Like it's kind of it seems like an anomaly.
It seems like an impossible balance.
Right.
Mhm.
Where that's where I'm like, I think there is some divine intervention that the Lord is producing in that, which is awesome.
Right.
But I am like, I do have to think too, is like with our kids, Matthew 6:27 can be something that we implement with them too. It's like, well, I want to be good at this, but I'm not. And you're like, well, how often are you doing it? So you can use the Bible as a teaching point for our kids as they get more passionate about the sport and maybe wonder why they're struggling or they're not doing good. It's like, well, how much time what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about playing video games, which that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I'm reminded of that as well. And it's like, that's another, like you said, a cautionary tale for us as parents. Does our treasure become 6 days a week? You guys are in sports, practice, tournaments on weekends. Like that can quickly become our treasure, is seeing our kids just being the best at what they do in sports versus staying true, dedicating our lives to the Lord and letting that be the priority first and letting sports fill in the gaps where it can.
So let's jump into the final rep. Go quickly around 30 to 60 seconds, an encouragement to the listener who maybe has kids, they're raising their kids in sports. What do you got to say? Paul, you can start us off.
My final rep really is, what does everything come down to? What is our final goal for this? And in 3 John or 3 John, depending on how you want to say
John
it.
the Third.
John the Third. 3 John 2, 3, and 4 says, "Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you, and that you may be in good health, as it goes well with your soul. For I rejoiced greatly when the brothers came and testified to your truth, as indeed you are walking in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth." And for me, whether my kids do sports or they do some other type of activity, I think all of those things are important, but that should be our main goal. And at the end of my life, to see that my children, my children's children are following the Lord, and they understand what truth is, and they understand who Jesus is. That's what it's all about.
That doesn't even deserve a follow-up.
Mic
That's
drop.
so perfect. Yeah.
We're out.
I'll just say, if you've got young kids and you're trying to find the balance in sports and life, seek first Scripture and your relationship with God. Ask Him for wisdom, and He'll give it to you.
Yeah, I think each of our kids is going to be different and play to those strengths. How can you use sports to teach them different disciplines, different hardships to overcome and whatnot? So, yeah.
I am already trying to train my mind to be my children's biggest fan for what they're passionate about, and let that be an encouragement to myself, my wife, and our kids. Is I just want to be their biggest fan. So if you have kids that are wanting to do sports, maybe you're even in a situation where you're seem like you're trying to push them, which at an unhealthy level for your own sake, just try to reverse that and be your kid's biggest fan for what they want to do. It may not even be something that you have a history of, which is even better, because then you can just be their biggest fan.
I'm just going to finish with 1 Corinthians 9, verse 24 through 27. Do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and I keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. I think life itself is a race. We all have one. It's all individual. It's all different. But for each one of us, we have the chance to run with purpose. And I think that's what this podcast is about. That's why we're here. We're trying to run with purpose. And we're glad you've decided to join us on this journey. If you liked this conversation, like, subscribe, comment, all of those things. And we'd love to see you next time. Somebody had to do it.